Hello guys, welcome back to the FalseNine's YouTube channel and welcome to something a little bit different to the channel. It's been a while since I've done a video that has no game, so I'm going to do one of them today. Unless you count update videos, it's probably been about a couple of years. And those videos were part of a short-lived series called FalseNine Thinks, which probably lasted about 4 weeks of the Premier League in maybe 2015, 2016, I think that's what year it was. And it was basically me predicting Premier League results. I'm not going to be doing that this season, but what I am going to be doing is giving you my predictions for the final Premier League table. Now, it's 10th of August as of recording this. There's a long way to go. The season's not even started yet. It starts tomorrow with Leicester versus Arsenal, or Arsenal v Leicester. I can't remember where that game is. You know, a lot of people have been doing it. Spencer's done it, and, you know, all the pundits are doing it because, you know, they know everything about football apparently. So I thought I'd give it a go as well. Let's see if I can get it right. Now I'm going to be splitting this into two videos. Today I'm going to be doing 11th to 20th, so we'll be working our way down towards the bottom and seeing who I think get relegated. And in the second video I'm going to do the top 10 teams, working my way up towards the European places and finally predicting who I think is going to win the Premier League. If you like the sound of that and you're enjoying the content, do leave a like on the video and leave comments. Let me know what you think. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of disagreements. I'm asking for trouble doing this, I know. But do leave comments down below, you know, maybe thinking about what your predictions will be, how much of mine you agree with or don't agree with. And if you do want to see videos as and when they're turning up on YouTube, do hit that subscribe button. So let's start off in 11th place. What better way to start than with 11th place? And the team that I think is going to finish 11th, it's Crystal Palace. It's quite a bold prediction. Palace finished in 14th place last season. New manager, Frank de Boer, took some time to appoint him. I think it was a good month or so between Allardyce's departure and Frank de Boer's appointment. Of course, last season, 14th place, started off the season with Alan Pardew. He was sacked in December and then Sam Allardyce took over. Of course, that was after his departure from the England job after one game, because that went really well, didn't it? I'm putting Palace as high as 11th because they ended last season really well. They beat Middlesbrough in February and then they had some fantastic victories. They beat Chelsea, they beat Arsenal 3-0, they beat Liverpool, and they did really well towards in the second half of last season. They got some great players in. They got Patrick Van Aanholt from Sunderland. They've got Milijovic, I'm not sure how that's said, but you know, he was a good player as well. And Frank de Boer's been appointed. He's Crystal Palace's first foreign manager on a 3-year contract. He's never managed in the Premier League, so that is a little bit of a gamble. Frank de Boer, inexperienced in the Premier League. He's had some spells with Ajax and Inter, and I think he was an assistant manager for the Netherlands national team. But this is his first time in the Premier League. Will he acclimatise straight away, or will it take some time? We'll have to wait and see. I think it might take a little while. I think Palace might have a bit of a slow start to the season, but I feel like they can really nail it down and pick things up and get a very good finish. I think 11th is about right. A pre-season, it's very clear that Crystal Palace are going to have a very drastic change of system to what we've seen from the past. So all the more reason for them to maybe have a bit of a slow and inconsistent start. We'll have to wait and see. The only permanent signing they have is a Gyro Riedewald from Ajax. He's only 20 years old, so you know there's a huge opportunity for him to, you know, really stake a claim and make a name for himself in the Premier League. £8 million as well, not expensive in the slightest. I feel like it's a really good deal. Still got plenty of room to grow, but he's only 20 years old. But again, it's a gamble. Palace taking a lot of risks this season. That's the only permanent deal they have so far. I feel like we might be seeing more from Palace before the end of the transfer window. There is still about 3 weeks left, so deals could still go ahead. And maybe some surprise transfers. Let's wait and see. But they have brought in Ruben Loftus-Cheek on loan from Chelsea for the season, who looks like he's going to be a first team role in midfield. So that could be a good one. You know, he's had a bits of Premier League experience, but he didn't really nail down a first team spot at Chelsea. He's come to Crystal Palace, so he may be able to do that there. It looks like they also are going to sign Timothy Fosu-Mensah, who will fill in their defensive line with Riedewald there as well. It looks like they're going to be playing like a back three, maybe like a 3-4-3, with Zaha would be maybe on sort of front left and then Benteke up top. So Joel Ward's may well find himself out of the team. So could he go before the end of the window? We'll have to see. I feel like they may need a backup goalkeeper as well. Steve Mandanda, the only player to leave for money from Crystal Palace, he's gone back to Marseille for an undisclosed fee, leaving only Wayne Hennessy and the ageing Julian Speroni. So I feel like a backup goalkeeper may well be something they get as well. But I'm confident that they'll do the deals they need to do. And it's a bold statement, but I think 11th place would be a great finish for Palace, and that's where I've put them. In 12th place, I've gone for AFC Bournemouth. So this is going to be Bournemouth's third straight season in the Premier League, and they have impressed. It's strange to think that a while ago they almost dropped out of existence entirely. Their future in the Football League was in doubt in like 08-09, and they were in League 2, they were in administration, and now they are a mid-table team in the Premier League less than 10 years later. It's a remarkable story. 2008, Eddie Howe took over, and he's still here. No, he's doing really well. He's doing wonders. I feel like he's due an upgrade soon. I mean, could this be a future England manager? Could this be a future Arsenal manager? Who knows? I mean, he's got a bright future. He's still less than 40 years old as well. They've been showing signs of progress, but I feel like Bournemouth might slip a couple of places from their 9th place finish last season. I've got them in 12th, and here's why. In the second half of last season, Bournemouth had a run of 9 games without a win. And they've yet to really have like a downward spiral. They didn't suffer the second season syndrome. It may have come a bit late. I mean, there's every chance that they'll just do the same as they did and get a top half finish again. They might even go higher. Who knows? Who knows what they're capable of? But I think they're just a little bit vulnerable. They could be a little bit capable of just like falling apart. You never know. But, they've bought really well and they've kept hold of key players as well. So, they've done all the right things pre-season. It's just whether it happens for them or not in the main season. I feel like there's a few teams that are just ahead of them in terms of how they did their transfer dealings as well. And in terms of departures, 3 players released. A few players out on loan. Ryan Alsop, the goalkeeper's gone on loan. Lewis Graben's gone on loan to relegated Sunderland. They've not really lost a great deal of players. In terms of players coming into the club, Nathan Arke is now permanently a Bournemouth player for £20 million, a club record player. Of course, he was on loan last season from Chelsea. And I'm amazed Chelsea didn't keep hold of him. We'll get on to Chelsea in the next video, though, because, they're going to finish top half. Of course they are. They've got experience up top. Jermaine Defoe, of course. Free transfer, which is incredible. I mean, Defoe on a free transfer who has still probably got another year or two of quality football in him. I still think he's a top player. I still think he should be playing for England. And, he's proven. He's scored plenty of goals in the past. And also, Asmir Bekovic, also from Chelsea, alongside Arcade. They've got a great goalkeeper. What they've done is they've just improved the spine of the team. So, straight from the back with Bekovic, straight up the middle. I mean, their midfield is fine. I've got no gripes at all with their midfield. The only other players they've signed is a guy called Mahoney from Blackburn and a guy called Frankie Vincent from Bayern, who I don't know a lot about those two people. So, again, they've gone for quality over quantity. 3 players brought in, but 3 players that I think will do really well for them. I just don't think they'll finish as high as last season. I think they're an unpredictable team. They could get a top half finish. They could get relegated. I don't think they will, but anything's possible in the Premier League. In 13th place, I've gone for West Bromwich Albion. West Brom finished in 10th place last season. Tony Pulis in his 3rd full season as manager. He joined New Year's Day 2015. Last season, West Brom were disappointing in the domestic cups. Didn't really get very far. And towards the end of the season, they seemed to just stop. Like, they got their 40 points and then they just thought, that's it, we're not going to try anymore. I just feel like West Brom need to show a bit more ambition. And again, much like I said with AFC Bournemouth, I think there's just a few teams that are just a little bit better than them. There's plenty of potential with West Brom, and I think they just need to show that they can compete with, some of the top half teams. I just don't think they'll be able to. Their top scorer last season, Salomon Rondon, only got 8 league goals. So goals would definitely help. And, this isn't about the FA Cup, this is about the Premier League, but they need to do better in those cup runs. They didn't do very well at all last season. Most notable departure, Darren Fletcher. Left for Stoke on a free transfer as well. And for, of course, captain as well he was. Because the West Brom released those season ticket things that had Darren Fletcher on the front, even though he doesn't play for them anymore. New captain is Johnny Evans, who is subject to interest from Leicester, but I think that might have died down now, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. In terms of people brought into the club, they've signed Jay Rodriguez from Southampton, who's been, very quiet for a couple of years. He's been plagued with injuries for a little while, but hopefully he can stay fit. And if he does so, he could really help out Rondon and maybe get him to double figures and get a few goals in the process himself. If Rodriguez does do well, he might find himself in the pecking order for England again. They've also signed some defensive cover in Ahmed Higazi from Al Ahly. Other than that, again, they've been very quiet. I think West Brom are going to be one of those mid-table teams, just like Palace and Bournemouth. I think from 11th to about maybe 18th, I think the teams there are... There's no other word for it. They're average? I don't know. I just think, it's going to be hard to separate those teams. I think from 11th to 18th, it's going to be quite hard to predict. But I think, I've got a bottom 3, or I've definitely got a bottom 2. And the top 6, I know, but I don't know what order in. But we'll see. We'll get on to that next video. In 14th place, I've got Newcastle United. Back in the Premier League, after winning promotion from the Championship, pipping Brighton to top spot. I think of the 3 teams promoted, they are definitely best equipped to stay up. They might not have the best squad. I still think they've got a Championship standard squad. But I think with their manager, Rafa Benitez, I think they can still do well. The only issue with Rafa is there seems to be a little bit of a struggle between him and the board and Mike Ashley about, players. Because Newcastle haven't really bought anyone. I say that, they bought 5 players. They bought Christian Atsu, who was on loan from Chelsea last season. He agrees a permanent deal. They've also got 26-year-old Florian Lejeune from Eibar. And he'll be a defender, so he'll be, going for that defensive spot alongside Kieran Clark and Jamal Lascelles. £12 million from Norwich. They've got Jacob Murphy. They've also got Javier Manquillo at right back, the former Sunderland and Liverpool defender. They've also got a season-long loan in the form of Mikel Merino from Borussia Dortmund. Newcastle departures are, they're a list of players that aren't good enough to play for them anymore. Players like Florian Thauvin, Sami Amiobi, Johan Gouffran, Vernon Anita. A bit of money as well. $9.5 million for Thauvin, who's gone to Marseille. $6 million for Lewis Gibson, who's gone to Everton. And $2 million for Daryl Murphy, who's gone to Nottingham Forest. Everyone else left on a free apart from Mbabu, who has gone to Young Boys for an undisclosed fee. If Benitez doesn't get his way with the board, there is every chance that he will quit. And if that happens, I think Newcastle may well be in trouble. And we could see all 3 teams going down again. But I think that will play a big part. If Benitez stays, that may well be the difference between a good mid-table finish and a dance of relegation for Newcastle. The best case scenario is that Benitez is trusted by the board and he's able to do what he needs to do. But the worst case scenario is that we could see Benitez resign very early in the season. I'm basing this on the fact, though, that Benitez won't leave. And that being said, I think Newcastle will get a good finish. I think it'll be a bottom half finish, but I think they'll be significantly safe from relegation. Dwight Gale has previous in the Premier League from Crystal Palace. We know he can score goals in the Premier League. I do as a Liverpool fan. He's one of my worst nightmares. We've also still got Josie Perez, who, could still do a job. Of course, Alexander Mitrovic as well. £13 million they bought from Anderlecht in 2015. I fancy Newcastle to do a good job in the Premier League and comfortably avoid relegation. In 15th place, I've got Watford. The revolving door of managers continues at Watford with the appointment of Marco Silva. Walter Mazzari was sacked at the end of last season, and Marco Silva is the new head coach. Of course, he failed to keep Hull up last season, but he didn't get a full season with the Tigers. He has a full season with Watford, so I feel like Watford can stay up. There might be a bit of difficulty, but I think they can do okay. Troy Deeney, top scorer last season, only just got double figures for Watford. Behind that, it was Etienne Capoue with 6. No one else got more than 3 goals. I think if anyone has a chance of staying at Watford for more than this season, it's Marco Silva. When he decided to leave Hull, there was a few teams that wanted him in. Watford have got him, and I think he can do a job. And could he end the trend of these one-season managers? I think the Watford squad has plenty of talent. I just think it's a little bit disjointed, and I think it will need some time to gel because, they bought, last season, I think they bought about 13 players, something like that. And they're doing a similar thing again. The one thing I want to see from Watford this season is a little bit of excitement because ever since they've got promoted, they've kind of been under the radar. They've not really come out as a team that have really produced some interesting games. They've become the West Brom of the Premier League. And I mean, no offence to Watford fans, but I've not really seen an exciting Watford game in the past sort of couple of seasons. Watford last season got 17th place. Part of that was due to a lot of players that they signed weren't very good. And, they had two managers, Quique Sanchez-Flores and Walter Mazzari. Neither of those could really get the best out of those players. And, the guys they signed didn't really have a lot of Premier League experience. But this time it's changed. There's a bit more method to Watford's transfer policy. They've got Tom Cleverley permanently after his loan spell. A right back, they've got Kiko Femenaya from Alaves. In terms of English signings, they've got some real prospects in Will Hughes and Nathaniel Shaloba. Will Hughes has finally made it to the Premier League, and I swear that's been in the pipeline for about three years. I also think we need to give an honourable mention to Roberto Pereira, who joined last season, but he was hit by injury, and we never really saw him. Still a great signing, and we never really saw him last season, so maybe this season it would be like a new signing, because, they finally get to see this player play. In terms of departures for Watford, I don't think there's any players that they're really going to miss. Stephen Berges has gone to Feyenoord, Mario Aspires has gone to China, Renegi has been released. So the past 2 seasons, Watford have stumbled over the finish line, much like West Brom have, because they hit their 40 points and stops. And then Watford kind of did the same thing and ended up only finishing just outside the relegation zone. Watford have one of the toughest starts to the season of anybody. They have Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal and Chelsea all before the end of October. I feel like they'll be more nailed on for a mid-table finish. I think it'll be a bit more comfortable for them this season. 15th place, it's alright. In 16th place, I've got Stoke City. This is Stoke's 10th straight season in the Premier League, which is quite surprising really. It was 10 years ago that they got promoted. Now, Stoke have undergone some pretty big changes to their squad. They've lost a lot of players. So I don't think it's going to be as good a finish for them. I think they're going to be in a bit of trouble this season. Last season, Stoke finished in 13th place, and that was after 3 straight 9th place finishes. Mark Hughes in what I think is his 5th straight year, 4th year? I can't remember. And the start of the decline, they had 3 straight 9th place finishes. Last season, it was a 13th place finish. This season, I think it's going to be even worse. They didn't score a great deal of goals last season. Their top scorer in the league was Peter Crouch with 7. Joe Allen got 6. Marko Arnautovic got 6, and he is no longer at the club. In fact, I think next on 4, or joint on 4th with Walters, his own goals. Walters isn't there either. Where are the goals going to come from Stoke? I think Mark Hughes' plans for this season, I think Stoke are going to start looking to their youth. They've got some good prospects in guys like Julian Ngoy, Oliver Shenton and Thibaut Linden. So I feel like some of these homegrown players may well step up to the first team. I mean, they're not going to be able to replace players like Marko Arnautovic, but, they can do a job. The only player they've really got that's exciting is Shaqiri. And I feel like he hasn't really hit the nail on the head yet as Shaqiri. He's been good, but I think there's something about him that I think he could still be brilliant. I feel like the goals are going to dry up for Stoke. I don't see where they're going to come from. Joselu and Bojan are pretty awful. Diouf scored once in 27 games. Berahino's bereft of confidence. And, Peter Crouch only got 7 last year. Crouch is starting to show signs of being past his best. And, how long is it before Peter Crouch retires? The upside of Stoke is their defence. I think their defence is really, really good. Martins Indy may well come in permanently if that hasn't happened already. Because they've got Kurt Zuma on loan from Chelsea as well, which I think is a great deal. So I think defensively they'll be okay, but I just can't see him scoring nearly enough goals. They've brought in experience in the form of Darren Fletcher. They've got Choupo-Moting to try and fill the gap Arnautovic has left. I don't think that's going to work out. They've got Josh Tyman from Hull. I think that's a tribunal fee. But, the players they've lost is going to hurt them badly. Not only have they lost Arnautovic, but they've lost Walters. They've lost Glenn Whelan. And I don't think it's going to be a good year for Stoke. And I think Mark Hughes may be one of the first managers to get axed this season. I'm not quite sure. It's been a good spell for him, but I think the fans and the board might be starting to lose patience with Sparky. I think it all revolves around whether or not the youth team experiment is going to work. If that backfires, Stoke could end up being relegated. But if it goes well, then, they could get back up to 9th place again. But I think Stoke are going to be in trouble this season. I think it's going to be a bit of a relegation battle for the Potters. In 17th place and just avoiding relegation, it's Burnley. Burnley finished 16th last season, managing to survive in the Premier League, so they have got a second spell. Top scorer last season was Sam Vokes with 10. Andre Gray scored 9, who looks like he's on his way out. Ashley Barnes got 6, and then nobody else scored more than 2 goals. So if Andre Gray has gone, then that is going to be an issue, goals. Burnley exceeded everybody's expectation just by staying up last year. They had some really good games. They did really, really well. Managed to stay up. They did tail off at the end, but, getting survival, staying up in itself was a great achievement for the Clarets. Their early form last season really helped them, but towards the end, they kind of fell away, and then they did end up finishing where they did, 16th. With Andre Gray on his way out, goals are going to be hard to come by. I think, they've lost a defender as well, and Michael Keane, so that might be an issue as well. I think Burnley are going to struggle this season, but I think they will just stay up, and I'm talking by like a couple of points, maybe even fewer. Sean Dyche has been in charge since 2012. He's done well for himself. But I feel like if Burnley don't do well, I feel like Dyche may well be called up to another team, maybe like a high-end championship team, or maybe another Premier League team. Knows if Eddie Howe does go to a bigger club, maybe Dyche will end up in Bournemouth. Who knows? Anything could happen. So I mentioned departures. Michael Keane's gone to Everton. No, that was expected. It doesn't look like Burnley are going to actually get another player in. It looks like they're going to just fill that gap with Tarkowski to play alongside Ben Mee, who Ben Mee, is a very good centre-back. He's done well for himself as well. Andre Gray, it seems, has gone to Watford, so we'll see what they do with that. I feel like they're going to lose a striker up front. They can't just depend on Vokes, can they? They've got Barnes. We'll have a look at the transfers coming in a second. As well as other players that won't be there this season. George Boyd has been released. He's gone to Sheffield Wednesday. And also, no Joey Barton this year because he's serving a ban for betting on football matches. Naughty, naughty Joey. So I mentioned John Waters, the Ireland international, has joined from Stoke. And joining him from Stoke is Phil Bardsley. They've got back up to Tom Heaton in goal with Adam Legsdins. That might be how you say it, I don't know. They've also got Jack Cork from Swansea, and they've got Charlie Taylor, a decent fullback from Leeds. So I've got them only just staying up, which just leaves my bottom 3. Okay, let's start with the team that I think are going to finish 18th. It's Swansea. Now, between the end of last season and this season, so far not a lot's changed, although that may change if Sigurdsson goes to Everton like it's being reported. Most of Swansea's story happened throughout last season when they made their way through 3 managers, starting off with Francesco Guidolin, and then he was sacked after a takeover, and Bob Bradley was brought in, and that worked out well. He got like an 18% win ratio, and they brought in Paul Clement, the former number 2 at Bayern München, and he saved them from relegation. It's as simple as that. Although they are very much in danger of losing their 2 best players. Gylfi Sigurdsson, close removed to Everton. Chelsea also interested in Fernando Llorente, so 2 key players for Swansea that could end up leaving. Besides that, there's not a lot else they've done. They've bought a few players, but no game changers really. In terms of signings, they've got a goalkeeper in Erwin Mulder on a free from Heerenveen. They've got Kees de Boer from Ajax. They've got Roque Messer from Las Palmas, which I think is a good deal. That's not too bad. They've also got Tammy Abraham on loan from Chelsea, so he could come up with a few goals if Llorente leaves. He could very well find himself, starting up front a lot of the season. In terms of departures, so far no key ones really. Jack Cork's gone. Also, Bavatimi Gomez has gone. Modo Barrow, who was a promising youngster, has gone to Reading. I mentioned Jack Cork, and Tremel's retired, and then Tabernu's gone back to Guingamp. There's not a lot else in terms of players leaving, really. If Swansea can keep Sigurdsson and Llorente this summer, I think they'll be okay, but they're not going to. That's the simple thing there. And, if they do lose those players, are they going to bring in some established names? I don't know that they are. They need to. If they don't, then they might finish bottom, let alone finish 18th. But they're going to lose Sigurdsson. If Chelsea don't get Llorente, someone else might. So I think Swansea are going to be in trouble, and I think after 7 years in the top flight, I think they'll be down. 19th place, I've got Brighton and Hove Albion, a team that are making their debut in the Premier League. It's going to be a short-lived stay for now, at least. Second place, of course, in the Championship, just pipped at the end by Newcastle. Glenn Murray top scorer, Chris Hughton in charge. He's got previous in the Premier League with Newcastle United and with Norwich. So, it could turn out well, but I don't think it's going to. I think there's a real gap in quality between, the two bottom teams and the rest of the pack. Simple as that. But Chris Hughton's got a lot of reputation as being a manager that does well to get teams promoted, but not so well in keeping them up. I think that a lot of teams are going to underestimate Brighton this season, though. I think they will pop up with some surprise wins here and there, maybe even some wins against some of the top teams, like some of the European teams. I feel like some people are going to overestimate them, but, they could turn themselves into a mid-table side, but I don't think they will. If I could sum up Brighton's transfer dealings in one word, I would say shrewd. They have not spent a lot of money. The players that they have aren't proven in the Premier League. Only one English player, and that being Alzate from Leyton Orient. They've got Pascal Gross, who is a striker that, he can join Anthony Knockout up front. He could be a good striker. He could get a few goals here and there. You've got Izzy Brown there as well. They couldn't get Tammy Abraham, unfortunately. They did try for him, but that didn't happen. They've got a decent goalkeeper in Matthew Ryan, who didn't do too well at Valencia, but he's in the Premier League as the Australian. So he could be a good goalkeeper. He's in my fantasy team as my substitute goalkeeper, like my backup goalkeeper. My number one is Jordan Pickford. Most interesting one, though, and the one I'm most excited for with Brighton is Davy Propper from PSV Eindhoven, £10 million. Now, I've used Propper in Football Manager this year. I know it's not real life, but he's been all right. Brighton may still spend money as well. They've got promoted. They've got the big war chest that comes with that. Not a great deal of departures, a lot of free transfers. David Stockdale to Birmingham. Foreign has gone back to Mulder. Oliver Norwood's on loan at Fulham. So in terms of departures, nothing significant really. I think the thing with Brighton's plays is it's as you were. There's not really a lot of new faces there. A lot of these people were the guys that helped them to get up. And I don't think they'll be able to stay up, sadly. Who knows? Someone might even be able to pick up Anthony Knockout before the end of the window. But, I'd love for Brighton to get survival. They're probably the Premier League team that is closest to where I live. So they're the most local. And I'd love for them to stay up. But I don't think it's going to happen. Lastly, for this video, of course, next time we're going to look at the top 10 teams. The team that I think is going to finish bottom of the Premier League. It's one that I haven't said yet. So unless you think they're in the top 10, which they absolutely won't be, it's Huddersfield. David Wagner guided them to the Premier League via the playoffs last season. Again, it's their debut in the Premier League, and they are massively out of their depth. I'm sorry, but Huddersfield this season, I think they're doomed. I mean, congratulations to them on getting promoted. It's huge. I don't think anyone saw them doing it. They were predicted to finish just outside the relegation places last season. They're in the Premier League. I mean, that's a brilliant achievement in itself. I don't think anyone expects them to stay up. But the reality is that there's no way it's going to happen. I mean, they're finishing rock bottom. And I might be being cruel here, but I think they're going to get less than 20 points this season. I think this could be a Derby County kind of relegation. I don't think they'll get the record. I don't think they'll get... What did Derby get? 11 points? Yeah, 11 points Derby got. I don't think Huddersfield will do as badly as that. Honestly, I can't see them getting more than 20 points. It seems cruel. But let's see what they have done. So, one player that was key last season for them was Aaron Moy, who has been signed permanently from Manchester City. After that, they signed another record signing, Steve Mounier from Montpellier. They've got Tom Ince. They've got Laurent Del Poitre from Porto. They've got Jorgensen. They've done really well with their signings, so well done. That's not too bad. They've done okay. Tom Ince has got previous in the Premier League as well. He's played before. In terms of players that are no longer there, Izzy Brown is not staying. He's gone back to Chelsea. The other departures, nothing to write home about really. I don't recognise any of the people on this list. So, yeah, not a lot going on there really. I feel like David Wagner could be subject to a lot of interest from other teams this season. He has signed a long-term contract with Huddersfield, but that means nothing in this day. I don't think David Wagner is going to be in charge by the end of the season, one way or another. So that could be, disastrous for Huddersfield as well. If they have another manager in, that could upset things a lot. I just think it's going to be a really poor campaign for Huddersfield. But you know what? well done to them for actually getting into the Premier League. I hope they just enjoy it. I think that's the best thing they can do, is just have fun with it. But yeah, I'm sorry Huddersfield, but I can't see it being a good season for you in terms of actual points and goals and the like. So that is the bottom half of the Premier League done, from 11th to 20th. So just to recap, 11th place to 20th, we've got Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, West Bromwich Albion, Newcastle, Watford, Stoke, Burnley, Swansea, Brighton, Huddersfield. So there you go. Now in the second half of this, in the next video, we're going to look at the top 10 teams working from 10th to 1st. So we'll find out who I think is going to be qualifying for Europe, and eventually who I think is going to win the Premier League this year. Hopefully you will join me for that. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like down below. Leave any comments. Do you agree with my predictions? Do you disagree? Where do you think everyone's going to finish? And do you think Huddersfield are going to break Derby's record of the lowest points tally? I've been really mean to Huddersfield, and I'm sorry. I think it's going to be a terrible season. On that note, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.